When the State Bank of India was ordered by the Supreme Court of India to disclose all the details of those who purchased electoral bonds, that was expected to cause a political storm in India in which even the ruling BJP would be uprooted. But when the data appeared in media, what was expected to be a political storm was just a storm in the teacup. It didn't cause any bang, it was just a whimper. What are the different dimensions of the information on electoral bond buyers that appeared in the newspapers? What will be the impact of this data on the future of Indian politics? Will it bring any level of transparency in politics? What is the history of political funding in India? Let's look into it in detail. This is Hari Kumar with Insights. One of the surprise elements in the data on electoral bonds that appeared in media is, though many expected Ambani or Adani group to have purchased the maximum quantity of electoral bonds, it was no such corporate that purchased huge amounts worth electoral bonds. The maximum amount was spent on electoral bonds by Santiago Martin. In fact, a company owned by Santiago Martin purchased electoral bonds to the tune of more than 1,350 crore. And remember, Santiago Martin is a controversial figure who has been in the eye of many controversies. And newspaper reports say he controls an empire worth more than rupees 7,000 crore. And another interesting fact is that Santiago Martin is closely associated with many political parties in the opposition. He is headquartered in Bengal and he has close relations with Trinamool Congress according to certain reports. In the past, he has been associated with Congress and the CPIM also in Kerala. And his son-in-law, Adhav Arjun, is the leader of a party which is an ally of DMK in Tamil Nadu. Moreover, Mr. Adhav is the political consultant of the DMK for the coming elections. So this is surprising that Adhav and his father-in-law are close to the opposition parties, and naturally it is expected that their donations or the opposition parties might have received the maximum donations from Santiago Martin. If you recount the allegations raised against Santiago Martin, they were shocking actually. He had been accused of fraudulent practices in selling Sikkim lottery and had been accused of causing a loss of over rupees 900 crore to Sikkim government. When there was a case in Kerala High Court against Santiago Martin in 2010, Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi came to represent Santiago Martin in High Court, and that caused an uproar in Kerala, and eventually Congress High Command had to chide Mr. Singhvi. And before that, when Achyutanandan was the Chief Minister of Kerala, he had raised certain questions against CPIM leader E.P. Jayarajan, who was the Managing Director of Deshabhimani Daily, accepting rupees 2 crore as bonds from Santiago Martin. And that caused an uproar in CPIM Kerala unit, and eventually the CPIM promised to return the money to Santiago Martin, but it's not known whether the party has returned it till now. And now let us look into the response of Union Home Minister Amit Shah in the issue. He made this response to a media recently. Mr. Amit Shah said the electoral bonds were, and attempt by the BJP government to bring in some level of transparency into the political funding in India. He said huge quantities of black money was flowing into political parties, and the government wanted to curb it and to end the practice. So, electoral bonds, he said, was an attempt, or it was a first step to end such practices. And he said, by routing the money through banks, the government has been able to bring in some level of accountability into election funding in India. And he said that since everybody knows, or the political parties will submit to the election commission about the amount or the donations they receive, and there is some level of transparency. He said that the secrecy of donors was maintained to ensure that the ruling party will not wreak vengeance on those who gave money to other parties or opposition. So he said that actually protected the donors. That was the logic of Mr. Amit Shah. He said, though he also agreed that the government didn't think that it will ensure complete transparency, but that was the first step, he said. And now let's look into the history of political funding in India. Before electoral bonds were legalized in 2017-18 by the then minister Arun Jaitley, it was electoral trusts that donated money to political parties. Electoral trusts were legalized in 2013 by the second UPA government, and corporate houses were allowed to form electoral trust. Those corporate houses were free to collect money from different sources and pool the money and will donate it to political parties. The logic behind the electoral trust was it was not directly related to the corporate house, and though the electoral trust was raised or formed by a corporate house, the corporate has no control over it. That was in principle the thought behind allowing electoral trust. But it's not sure whether the corporate that formed the electoral trust will be so judicious in dividing the money to different political parties, or whether they had divided the money equally to political parties. The logic of Mr. Amit Shah in the electoral bond and his justification of BJP getting the maximum amount from electoral bonds is that the BJP is the largest party in India and has got 330 MPs. The BJP is contesting from all parts of the country, and the party is also present in all parts of the country, which means that the party will get more money. So if a political party is confined to certain parts of the country, if it has no presence in some parts of the country, how do you expect that party to get the same amount as the biggest political party? And that party is not expected to spend as much amount as the biggest party also. So there is some logic in the Home Minister's argument, and it is also not sure that if it is an electoral trust in place of electoral bonds, they will be dividing everything equally. The logic of the Union Home Minister is each party should get electoral funds proportionate to their strength. And he says the BJP government has never tried to extract the names of donors from State Bank of India. As per the common sense, it's clear that any political leader, whether it is BJP or Congress or Trinamool Congress, they will be able to get the details if they want. And it's not only the party that rules at the center. Even, for example, the CPIM controls the All India Bank Employees Association, which has got very strong presence in many banks. And such trade unions or employees unions will be able to get data if they wanted really. I'm not saying that they might have taken the data or leaked out the data. What I'm saying is that there is a possibility. So it's not just the government. Even other political parties are also have the strengths to get data from banks. Now we said about two electoral bonds and the electoral trust, and before that it was in the form of checks that political parties used to get funding, and that was in 1990s. And whether political parties should be allowed to gain funds or get donations from corporates was a question right from 1950s. In 1957, a Tata company, TISCO, decided to amend their memorandum of understanding so that they could donate it to political parties. And there was a case in Mumbai High Court on whether TISCO should be allowed to donate to any political institution. And eventually, at that time, the court decided that the very famous judge and who later became a minister in the Indira Gandhi ministry, Mr. M.C. Chagla, was the Chief Justice of Mumbai High Court at that point. At that point, the court decided that it was in the rights of the company to decide whether they should donate to a political party or not. In 1969, Indira Gandhi banned corporate donations, and in 1985, her son Rajiv Gandhi reversed the decision and made it legal for the corporates to donate to political parties. So there have been discussions or debates about whether corporates should be allowed to donate to political parties. Many have raised the doubt that corporates will influence government policy if they donate to political parties, especially the ruling parties. But even before the independence, there was discussions and doubts were raised as to whether political leaders should be allowed to get donations from corporate houses. You would be surprised to know that B.R. Ambedkar had raised criticisms against Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah for getting corporate funds. It was Birlas who funded Congress during the independence struggle, and the Bajaj family was also involved in funding Congress. So I'm not saying that those were wrong practices. The corporate houses donating to political movements and political parties is a trend everywhere in the world. Even in countries like US where it is, they say that this is the democracy is matured there. There also exists the practice of of donations. Now it seems that at least drafting some mechanism or some amount of or bringing some amount of accountability into political funding will go a long way in cleaning the political system of a country. Because even if there is no electoral trust or electoral bonds, political parties will get funding from corporates and individuals. Those who are doing illicit business, those who are engaged in real estate business, will be in the forefront to donate to political parties, because on those areas government policies matter a lot. And you know that according to a study of Delhi based an agency, Center for Media Studies, an amount of around 60,000 crore was spent in 2019 election. Even if you consider all the money received by political parties legally, it would not, the total amount would not come to that. So now it is clear that money apart from these legal channels, political parties are getting money in cash and other forms through their leaders. through in different regions of the country. If a political party or a political leader gets money from an individual doing business, how can it be accounted? During elections, they collect money from business houses in even in rural areas of India, and a large amount, actually the major part of the part of funds received by political parties is in the form of cash, which cannot be accounted. So it is better that there is some form or some channel that can be monitored by government agencies, and that will bring in some level of transparency in political funding. Even if we deny every type of funding, political parties will find a way to gain funds. So, this is actually a question that merits deep discussion. The Supreme Court is discussing the issue at present, and hope the court will come up with a solution as a first step to control the influence of black money in politics. That's for now. Meet you with another topic next time. Till then, goodbye.